Hi, I'm Darren Leonardton, and I'm so excited today to share with you my knowledge about selecting seeds and seedlings for your particular region. I used to live in Seattle. Cold season vegetables there does great. Now I live in Texas and it's hot, and so I'm going through an educational process there to learn about what works well, and I can't wait to share with you my ideas on how to grow your own herbs and your own vegetables at your own house. So in selecting your seeds and your seedlings, you can get them anywhere, grocery stores, home and garden shops. One of the first things I always do is I go up and I select seeds that are organic. I mean, the organic craze is everywhere. Why wouldn't you want to start with a plant that is organic based so that you have confidence that it's going to produce something that's great tasting and good for your family? So after you select that, and you're confident in that, like this brand is Botanical Interests, and they're USDA organic. You do want to look for the USDA so that you know that it's a certified organic product. So after you find that, then the next thing that I always do is I look for vegetables and herbs that are full of color. I mean, just like when you build a plate, you want to put as much color as you can on that plate, because as a chef, you know, there's a lot of nutrition in colorful foods. So that's the same when you grow your vegetables. You want to make sure that you have that color. But at the same time, when you're growing vegetables and you have gardens outside, you know, why not make it beautiful? You know, you don't want just a bunch of green stuff out there. You want to throw in some beautiful flowers and wonderful looking vegetables and fruits so that it looks just vibrant and fresh, and it makes you happy when you go out to the garden and you see that. So think about that. So like in front of me, I've got just all sorts of different colors here, and I've got eggplant, watermelons, peppers, gourmet beet blends with yellow beets and candy cane beets with striped whites. They're just wonderful and simple to grow, and even pumpkins, because it's the season here. We're coming in late summer. And the next thing that I do is there's really two versions of it. There's the warm season and the cold season. So it usually will just say it right on the pack there. So this says warm season, 80 days of full sun. So this is a watermelon, and watermelons obviously take a long time to grow and produce a fruit. Now, I would never attempt to grow watermelon in Seattle. It just never would take form. One time I did grow it, and I think I produced a watermelon that was that big, and I was happy about it, but it just didn't come to. But I've seen people grow watermelons in Texas that are just out of this world. So going to your local home and garden store and talking with people, like just asking them, hey, what grows well here? Because you can look up stuff on the internet, but it goes down to the community level. It's all different where you're at. So just talk to people and understand, you know, what's going to grow well. Now, I can tell you the one thing. Growing from an Earthbox, which is what we're going to show you later, is so much easier than growing in a pot or out in the soil, because Texas soil is actually it's very hard. It's hard clay, whereas in Seattle it's very rich and dark, and there's a lot of organic material there. So you really need to grow in a box or some type of unit, and I just totally recommend an Earthbox. It's so easy to do. So when I select my seeds, so like in front of me here, I also pick unique things. I don't just pick your standard stuff, because, you know, the standard stuff you can just buy in the grocery store, and some things you can buy very inexpensive. But for example, I don't know if you've ever seen lemon cucumbers before, but I remember when a farmer actually brought them to one of my restaurants, and they look just like a lemon. And the amazing thing is they taste just like a cucumber, but they produce so much fruit on the vines. And that's the other thing that I look for when I pick out seeds is vegetables and fruits that are going to really mass produce and hang. And I love that about the lemon cucumber. And what I love also about it is no one's ever seen it. You don't see it in the grocery store. So why not grow some unique things that you can't get in the grocery store to really impress your family and friends when they come over? So you got to try lemon cucumbers. And then another one that I love too is, you know, why not throw flowers into the mix of your vegetables and herbs? It adds color and beauty, but also most flowers, if you get the edible ones, are absolutely delicious. So here's an example of a nasturtium. And these hang down, and you can't eat the leaves, but you can eat the actual flowers, and they're very spicy, and they're just wonderful in salads and just taste so good too. So there's one that I'm gonna grow in it too. And then you'll notice that I have some seedlings here in front of me, and these are primarily herbs. And I wanted to talk to you about the difference between like why do you get some seedlings and some that are seeds? Well, I think the key thing first is like how fast do you want to garden? You know, I mean, I'm kind of an impatient person. I always want things now. So, I mean, if you can buy your vegetables as starters, you know, great. I mean, you're gonna get more productivity out of it. Things are gonna grow faster, but you're also gonna get variations because that seedling is gonna be introduced to a new environment at home. So if you're in a seed format, it's the beginning of that seed in your own environment, so it's gonna be stronger and maybe produce even more fruit. But going back to the seedling, here's fresh rosemary, for example, and it just smells out of this world. And you know, I love growing rosemary for, you know, I take I'll trim this part off right here and use this as a grill brush when I'm grilling meats outside, and dip that in some olive oil and garlic. And one, because it looks cool and it just adds such a fragrance to your meats. And then you can throw this in and create a little fire and adds fragrance to your meats too. But the reason why I don't grow this from a seed format is the germination period, it takes forever. And to even have a rosemary plant that's about that tall, you're looking at like 4 months. And it's just a long time. So I try to buy seedlings, especially in herb formats, that I know are going to take a long time in germinating, so that I can just plant those in the ground. So that's an example too. And another one that's in that same format is fresh sage. You know, sage is a beautiful thing and wonderful with apples, and we all use it on Thanksgiving and stuffing. And then the other thing about herb seedlings is the flowers that they produce. A lot of people, when they grow them, they might discard the flowers, but they're a wonderful thing too, to use in your cooking or in your flower bouquet. So I've got sage, lavender is a great example, same like rosemary. Now this is actually a chocolate basil. Now, I do recommend you can grow basil from seed. That's another one that that germinates very fast, grows very fast, and it's wonderful to cut it even when it's down at about that tall. Still has a great fragrance to it. And then the last one that I have here is actually a peppermint. And you can see this vine, I mean, growing on it is just wonderful. But wow, it's so strong smelling, and there's many different variations of mint. Mint is another one that you can absolutely grow from a seed format, but you do have to be careful about mint, because when you do plant mint, it will overtake your garden box. So if you choose a box or in the ground, just know that it's going to take over, and there's just going to be seedlings all over the place. But you know what? In my house, it doesn't matter. We just make a lot of mojitos and tzatziki sauce with that Greek yogurt and lemon and garlic and mint. And so the vegetables I picked that I'm going to start growing out here from seed, I'm gonna try the watermelon. We're going to give that a shot. I've got corn. This is a sweet butter corn. Some people like that tri-colored or the super sweets, but we're going to try this butter gold. Obviously, bell peppers are going to do wonderful in Texas. It's kind of known that in hot locations that bell peppers and hot peppers do extraordinarily well, because they love the heat. They just soak that up. And then cold season vegetables that I did pick here, I've got a few. We've got Swiss chard. Now, I love Swiss chard because it does add a really beautiful color, that red and the green. You know, the variance of the color just looks beautiful in your pots. And then spinach. Now, if you've never heard of Bloomsdale spinach, definitely grow this at home, because you can't get this in the grocery store. And what's awesome about it is the leaves, no joke, they're like as big as my head. They're huge, and they're so delicious, and they grow very, very fast. And you can eat the stems in spinach too. So wonderful to have lettuce out in your garden. And what people don't know is when you do grow, like here's a freckled lettuce. When you grow a lettuce, you don't have to harvest the whole head. you actually could just harvest the outside leaves and it will continue to grow. So that's the beautiful thing about growing lettuce in an earth box, is you can continually go out and harvest the salads that you need. So one head of lettuce might last for you a couple months, and you just keep trimming through it and make salads for your family and get all that great taste and from the organic lettuce. So we're going to go with that. We are definitely going to do melons. Melons do extraordinarily well here too. Now here in Texas, it's already in the middle of August, so I got to get this going. I got to get this in the ground. And if you read the back of these packets too, they always give you a recommendation about how long it takes to emerge. So this one says 5 to 10 days. The seed depth is 1/2 inch. So I'm going to poke my finger and put it in. And then this says the seed spacing is 3 seeds per mound. So a cantaloupe is going to do extraordinarily well outside on a big mound, but in an earth box, it's going to do great too. Consider that as a mound. So in an earth box, I'll put maybe 3, but probably 2. But I'm always going to start out with 3 seeds per little hole that I do, because you're not going to get all those seeds to germinate, and then we'll thin them out. So then it tells me here from that I should space this 2 to 3 feet apart, and then thinning, I should thin them when they're 3 inches tall, and you thin them to 1 to 2 plants. So you want to have one here and one here. You don't want them growing right next to each other. And a lot of people are like, well, why? And what's interesting about that is I remember reading about, why do you thin seeds? It feels so bad to kill another seed, but if you think about it, they're fighting for that moisture. They're fighting for that soil and the nutrients. And so they're not going to grow to their full potential. They're going to just basically produce mediocre fruit. And you can't let that happen. You've got to, nature finds a way. You've got to take one away so that that one can really lead and develop to its full potential. So thinning, even though it sounds sad, if you don't have a place for it, you're helping that other vegetable. So it's very important. Then also zucchini, wonderful. Zucchini is something, you don't see the flowers in the grocery store, and the flowers, not only are they beautiful, but the flowers are totally edible too. And as a chef, I've stuffed them with like goat cheese and breadcrumbs and a little bit of lemon and pan fried them. And then the other cool thing about zucchini is that you just can't beat fresh picked zucchini right out there in your earth box, and you can get different sizes, so they don't all grow at the same rate. So you get some that are really small and cute and some that are big, and that's a wonderful thing for your kids to see too. To actually see those hanging out of the box is a really fun thing. And then get crazy with your tomatoes too. These are some Cherokee purples. They're organic. They're basically an heirloom tomato. And Cherokee purples, they have that purpley colored flesh inside. And an heirloom tomato they're very ugly. And that is the way the tomatoes used to be. So before man got involved with genetically modifying the seeds and trying to make tomatoes all perfect in size, heirloom tomatoes just grew every which way they wanted, and sometimes looked like 4 tomatoes combined. And those produce just wonderful fruit. And we all know that a vine-ripened, homegrown tomato cannot be beat. I've never experienced a better tasting tomato than grown right outside on my deck. So, and to be able to harvest that and own that is just a wonderful thing. So eggplants, to be honest with you, I've never grown one. So I love the fact that they're purple. They're a hot season vegetable, so we're gonna give it a shot here in Texas, and I'm really excited about it. My wife and my mother-in-law are Armenian, so they make a lot of different traditional dishes with eggplant, like eggplant caviar, where they roast it in the oven with tomatoes and garlic, and then puree that up and have that with some fresh toast. So I'm kind of excited to grow some eggplant for my mother-in-law. And then sugar snap peas. This is 5 to 10 days it's going to germinate, but sugar snaps are a high producing vegetable. Another reason to grow this at home, the vines are going to go up really high in your Earthbox. So you're going to need to use some bamboo stakes or tie them up on a fence, and you're going to be able to produce so much, and they're so sweet and so good. And to buy sugar snap peas in the grocery store, I mean, you're talking up to $4 for like a half a pound. So why wouldn't you want to grow these at home and have the joy of picking them? And the more you pick, the more they grow. So definitely go with that. You know, beets are one of the ones that you'll grow those and you're going to want to harvest the whole thing. But here's a trick with beets. Oftentimes, I don't actually harvest the beets. So I will grow the different colored beets and they'll produce the different leaves, and the leaves look very similar to Swiss chard, and you can trim them just like lettuce and saute them. So beet greens, totally delicious. Saute those up, and then at the end of the season, when you're finally like, I really want to eat that beet, then you can let it grow a little bit more and then finally harvest that beet, and it's absolutely delicious, roasted beets. And then let's see, I think we kind of covered stuff here. And of course I got pumpkins. You know, growing pumpkins in an Earthbox will be pretty crazy. You're gonna obviously want to do your Earthbox on the ground at that point, and when the pumpkin starts to grow, you're gonna need to hold it probably and hang it over the Earthbox and let it grow in probably a grassy area. But how fun will that be to have this ginormous pumpkin hanging over your Earthbox? So we're gonna give it a shot. These are actually called the Little October, and they are small pumpkins, so they actually only grow to 3 to 4 inches. So I chose that because, you know, there's no way that I'm going to get a pumpkin probably by October 31st if I don't get this thing going right now. So I'm hoping for some little gourds that I can have on the table and garnish for decor. So excited about that. I think that kind of covers it, and then you'll see later on I've got some other starters that we already planted out there as well. But I hope you guys have learned something, and I'm really excited to talk with you more about seeds and seedlings. So stay tuned for our next episode.